Welcome to the real world. This is your host Almas Haider Naqvi. Pakistan's Middle East policy in recent years can be perceived as a balancing act between Saudi Arabia and Iran. It maintains an ideological affinity, deep military ties, and economic relationship, and a strong leadership ties with the kingdom. But Pakistan also wants to extend economic and security links with Iran. To what extent Pakistan may continue the strategy that balance its geopolitical ambitions with its economic interest. To discuss Pakistan's Middle East challenges, today we have with us Mr. Faisal Khan. He's a senior journalist and geopolitical analyst. One crisis after another in the Middle East is putting Pakistan into a new situation. What kind of challenges Imran Khan will face?
First of all, thank you very much that you have invited. It's a very important subject when we are talking about Middle East particularly. Yes, of course, it's a challenge for Pakistan because Middle East, Pakistan has deep roots in Middle East, particularly when we are talking about Gulf countries. Pakistan has more than 1.5 million of the diaspora, not only living there, but also they are the source of remittances, and economically it's very important for Pakistan. Secondly, Pakistan has very deep defense ties with Saudi Arabia, with UAE and all other countries. Then at the Palestinian issue, Pakistan has a particular stance from the last many years. Pakistan has taken a lot more things in positive, particularly regarding Middle East. But Pakistan has a lot more stakes within the region as well. And Pakistan wants its friendly ties with the neighborly countries. In that particularly, Iran is a very important country, and that's why Pakistan is right in the middle to create some sort of a balance between Iran and Saudi Arabia. And from the last 15 or 20 years, what sort of rivalry we have seen between Saudi Arabia and Iran, that ultimately affects Pakistan. Pakistan has to protect its diaspora, which is very dynamic. There are a lot more, not only the laborers, but also the technical and professionals are working in Saudi Arabia and a lot of other countries. Pakistan suffered the most because of the crisis in Bahrain. Pakistan suffered the most crisis in Yemen. Pakistan suffered a lot due to the crisis in Syria, in Iraq, in rest of the countries, in Libya particularly as well. But Pakistan is more affected when the crises have the dimensions between Iran and Saudi Arabia, particularly when we are talking about Syria, Yemen, Bahrain and Iraq. So these have the dimensions with Iran as well and Saudi Arabia. In that particular sense, in that particular case, Pakistan is the most sufferer country. When we are talking about crisis in Qatar as well, that's again because some of the GCC countries, even whole of the GCC countries except Qatar, are against Doha, and Iran has given more support to Qatar. Even Turkey has given the support to Qatar. Again, Pakistan is at the crossroads. Pakistan is at the crossroads because one side there is Iran and Turkey. Pakistan has very close ties with both the countries, and on the other side, Pakistan is right in the middle of UAE, Saudi Arabia and rest of the countries, even Maldives and all that. So Pakistan has, but over the years, Pakistan has taken a well-balanced stance, particularly in the case of Yemen and Syria.
Over the years, Pakistan has faced challenge in balancing relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran. How Pakistan will react if a direct war erupts between Saudi Arabia and Iran?
I think so. It's a huge disastrous assumption right now, because right now most of the countries are trying hard to contain both the countries, Iran and Saudi Arabia, not to have some sort of a hot war between them, rather than to be even not the Cold War between these two countries, because that is ultimately more disastrous for Pakistan rather than to be the region. And I'm not going into the details what sort of the numbers both the countries in military sense, and how it could be erupted and all that, because it's a huge and long debate. But Pakistan's role is very important when we are talking about Shanghai Cooperation Organization. That is the platform where China is there, where Russia is there. India has a very close ties with Iran. Ultimately, Pakistan and India both are the members of SCO, and both wants closer relations with Iran. Pakistan has very important relations with Saudi Arabia. I think so war would be disastrous not only for this region, but Pakistan's economy can't sustain such type of jingoism or such type of adventure from any country which is going into. So I think so that it would be very difficult for Pakistan, and I think so Pakistan has to foresee according to its foreign policy, and Pakistan has to maintain and use those good offices of Moscow, Beijing and Ankara to put some sort of some kind of soft pressure at Saudi Arabia and Iran to maintain their integrity, but don't indulge into some sort of hot war between each other, because ultimately that would not be in benefit to these countries as well.
Okay. Mr. Faisal, Middle Eastern crisis is sectarian in nature. What would Pakistan do at home to avoid sectarian and growing proxy between the two countries?
I think so. First of all, although the meeting is going to be propose some sort of unfortunate competition of caricatures, which is going to be held in Holland. I don't want to discuss in detail in that, because that is unfortunate. But that is the main agenda of OIC meeting, which is going to be held in next month. But I think so Pakistan has to discuss at the sidelines what sort of tensions going on between Iran and Saudi Arabia as well. Today, Iranian Foreign Minister Javad Zarif is arriving in Pakistan just shortly after a couple of hours. And I think so Pakistan has to discuss these things with Iran as well, because we have to be open in that sense. That if there is a question comes between the two Islamic countries, it is not about sectarianism, though Iran and Saudi Arabia both have used sectarianism as a tool to assert their power into the Middle East and in Pakistan as well, and elsewhere in the region. But I think so this is the time that unfortunately right now the scenario is the United States is pushing hard to the Saudi Arabians to contain Iran. On the other side, Iran has a rivalry right now with not only with Saudi Arabia, but the tensions going on with Washington as well on Jack Paul, you know that. And that is basically creating some sort of rift within the region, that how these crises are going to be unfold and how Pakistan has to play a role. It's a very crucial role for Pakistan, just like Iran-Iraq war in 80s. So I think so that this is the time that Pakistan has to assert something, not only with Riyadh, but also in Tehran. And Iranian foreign minister is going to come here. There is an invitation from Iran as well as from Saudi Arabia to Mr. Prime Minister Imran Khan. When he has to choose any country, it is not the matter that what would be the first country to go there. But I think so that is more important what is going to be discussed over there. Not only with the bilateral relations, but I think so the regional contours must have to be there in the meeting, and Pakistan has to assert, because Pakistan's foreign policy, it must have to be independent in that sense, that we don't have to take sides. We don't have to be the part of some sort of alliances, because alliances game is over. No doubt there are some structures are now emerging. There are some shift in the balance of power is going on in the region.
Mr. Faisal, you have pointed out that the caricature issues erupted from the Holland. Now, don't you think that Muslim Ummah should have to give a united response to such kind of Islamic phobic kind of mind? What do you suggest at this moment?
I think so. It's not me to suggest, but I think the foreign minister has already, Shah Mahmood Qureshi, in a series of the press conferences, he has already elaborated that the single response from Pakistan would not matter. Because this is the matter which is most very much closer to the hearts of the Muslims, and that is some sort of thing which is deliberately exploited from some regions and the countries, earlier from Denmark, then from Switzerland, then from Holland, and it's that person, Greet Wilder, who is the parliamentarian in the Holland, might be the second majority party within the Holland Dutch parliament. That has to be curbed from Holland and from the European Union. This is not the matter of free speech or something like that. This is not freedom of expression or freedom of speech. It is direct hit at a religion whose billions of people are living in across the world. 57 member states are there, and I think so if this is the time that 57 member states within OIC, they should have to come very strongly against these sort of acts, because ultimately it is going towards some sort of, again, some sort of clash of civilizations. That shouldn't be happen, because you know that there should be some sort of solidarity with those who are actually suffering in Palestine and in Myanmar, in Kashmir, in all others, and OIC have to come with a strong stance. They have to not only raise voice at the OIC platform, but at the UN level. And UNGA session is going to be held next month, and they have to be forcefully there.
Okay. Mr. Faisal, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan has invitation from both Iran and Saudi Arabia. Tehran would be the first destination, or Riyadh?
I think so that for media it could be a very juicy and spicy thing, but in diplomacy, no doubt that fractionally it matters. That wherever you go first, former Prime Minister Liaquat Ali Khan has an invitation from Russia, has an invitation from United States, and that was the era when the Cold War started actually, and he chose to go to United States. There were some administrative reasons as well, which is also the part of history, what happened to that, but that actually continues. And then Pakistan was within the alliances with US and all that. So that has created some sort of rivalry with Russia. So this is very important for Pakistan, that whether, I think so he has to take this visit in one go, number one. Rather than going Riyadh first or going Tehran first, he has to go first to both the countries. And whether he goes to Riyadh or Tehran, that doesn't matter, but that plane must have not to stop. First he has to land in any country, then he has to land in the second country. And that would show that how Pakistan weighs Iran and Saudi Arabia. And for Pakistan, both countries are very important. Both are the Muslim countries. Both have a great relations. Where Pakistanis are living there. We have spiritual direction towards and heart is going towards Saudi Arabia, but we have mind with Iran. So hearts and minds must have to go together, and we have to take lots of benefits out of that, whether it's economy, trade and all that. And I think so today is a very important visit of Iranian foreign minister. Pakistan so has to initiate some sort of Iran-Pakistan gas pipeline and all those projects which are there.
Iranian foreign minister is here today. What do you expect from his visit?
I think so it's a goodwill gesture visit, rather than to be, there is no very substantial thing is going to be unveiled, because not lots of projects, though he is going to sign some of the MOUs, but I think so that this is more symbolic rather than to be some sort of agreements and all that. And agreements doesn't matter right now, because Imran Khan's government just taken into power. They have only 2 or 3 weeks to be, they have started their work as a government, and he is going to be the first.
Very brief, is there any visit from Saudi side due in next week or in next month?
We are sensing something that someone is coming from Saudi Arabia as well. Not might be very quickly, but there would be a visit from Saudi Arabia as well. But you should have to remember that this is the first ever visit after this new government taken into power, and Jawad Zarif is the first one to arrive as a foreign minister. So it means for Iran, how much Pakistan is important right now. There are a lot more solid statements straight away coming from, not only from the political side of Iran, but also from the military side of Iran. And Pakistani military has the stakes with Iran as well.
Thank you, Mr. Faisal Raza Khan, for joining us today. Consistent chaos in Middle East is troublesome for not only regional countries, but also to rest of the world. For decades now, it has been difficult for Pakistan to maintain its balance between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Prime Minister Imran Khan is to face similar challenges in days to come. It would be a test case for his government to continue balancing of relations with both countries. This is all from the real world. Keep watching dbtv.live. Take care.